Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been counted out, pushed aside? Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like your best version disappeared somewhere along the road? This isn't about bouncing back. This is about reclaiming something. Yourself in this video, we're going up to the thing, explore how to rebuild your life. Not to prove them wrong, but to rise, because the comeback is personal. There are moments in life when the world grows quiet, not because everything is calm, but because you've been silenced by failure, by heartbreak, by disappointment. These moments come uninvited, unexpected. Maybe it was a dream that shattered. Tell me, a trust that was broken, a version of yourself you no longer recognize. And in that stillness, in that strange emptiness, you are left with one question: what now? We are told to move on, to let it go, to bounce back quickly, as if pain is a distraction, not a teacher but you. And I know better. Because this isn't just about bouncing back. This is not a public show. It's not about proving anything to anyone. This time it's different. This time the comeback is personal. There's a quiet illusion many of us carry through life, the belief that when we fail, when we fall, when we are rejected or wounded, we become less than who we once were. Tell me, we begin to whisper to ourselves that we are broken, that something within us has shattered and cannot be mended. But this belief, though widespread, is deeply false. You were never broken. You were only disconnected from the truth of who you are at your core. Beyond the layers of identity that the world tries to place on you, beyond your job title, your achievements, your roles, and even your failures, that core essence within you is not flawed. It doesn't need fixing. What it needs is remembering. Life has a way of pulling us away from that essence. Slowly, subtly, through disappointment, comparison, criticism, and fear. Tell me, we start to drift. We drift into performance, trying to please others. We drift into doubt, questioning our worth based on outcomes. We drift into shame, believing that because something didn't work out, it must mean we're defective. That disconnection begins quietly. Tell me a lost opportunity, a betrayal, a moment when we were told we weren't enough. And over time, tell me, the distance between who we are and who we believe we are becomes vast. But the truth never leaves. That inner self, that calm center of who you really are, is still there, waiting, watching, not judging you, not condemning you, simply inviting you back. Every single setback is not a judgment about your character. It's a nudge to return to the truth. The truth that you are already complete. That nothing outside of you can diminish what was placed inside of you the moment you were born. The reason the comeback is personal is because it's not about rebuilding what the world can see. It's about reuniting with what the world often ignores: your inner being. You see, you don't need to become stronger in the way the world defines strength. You need to become softer, more connected, more compassionate, more in tune with your own heart. Tell me, strength in this journey doesn't come from proving others wrong. It comes from remembering that you don't need their approval to begin again. When you slow down long enough to truly feel, without judgment, something begins to shift. You begin to notice that your wounds are not signs of weakness. They're symbols of having lived, symbols of being open, of caring, tell me, of trying. And the moment you stop running from those wounds and instead start honoring them, you begin to reconnect. This reconnection is where healing begins. And healing doesn't mean returning to who you were before the pain. It means allowing the pain to reveal a deeper, more grounded version of you. A version of you who knows what matters. A version of you who no longer lives for applause, but for alignment. A version of you who remembers that value was never earned, it was always there. You were told to seek answers outside of yourself. Tell me, but the answers are already within. You were told to chase love, success, identity, but they reside within you, not somewhere out in the world. The reconnection starts with silence, with stillness, with space. Tell me, with moments where you stop distracting yourself long enough to hear your own voice. The voice that says, you are enough, not because of what you've done or haven't done, but because you exist. Your comeback does not require a reinvention. It requires a reunion, a homecoming, a remembering of what you knew as a child, that you were worthy of love simply for being. Tell me that your dreams mattered, that your voice mattered, that your presence was sacred. Over time, the world tried to teach you otherwise, but the deeper truth has not changed. It's only been buried under noise. Reconnect with the parts of yourself you've abandoned. Tell me the hopes you gave up on, the innocence you tucked away, the creativity you stopped expressing. These were never signs of weakness. They were glimpses of your divine design. Your comeback is not a return to how things used to be. It's a return to who you truly are, not who you were taught to be. There is a profound misconception many carry throughout life, that failure on the outside reflects failure on the inside. That when a business falls apart, a relationship ends a plan, doesn't unfold the way it was envisioned, it somehow confirms our deepest fear. I am not good enough. You can't tell me, but what if what you're calling defeat is actually something sacred? What if it isn't punishment or proof of your unworthiness, but instead a divine interruption meant to wake you up? The world teaches us to chase applause. Tell me, but all of those things live outside of us. They are fragile. They can disappear. Tell me. And when they do, it can feel like the floor beneath you has collapsed. That's the moment when most people give in or give up. But that's also the moment when your soul sees an opening. That crack in the outer world, it's the place where the inner light gets in. Defeat in the external world isn't the end of the road. It's often the beginning of a different kind of journey, one that doesn't lead outward but inward. There's something uniquely transformative about being stripped of the things you thought defined you. When everything that gave you a sense of control or validation is removed, all that's left is you. Tell me. And it's there in the silence, in the stillness, that awakening begins. Awakening doesn't feel glamorous. It doesn't come with crowds cheering or cameras flashing. It often begins in solitude, in quiet tears. Tell me. In restless nights where you question everything. It begins when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? The shift is subtle, but it's powerful. You stop resisting and start receiving. You begin to see that every loss is also a clearing. Every closed door is an invitation to explore the parts of you that were never given attention. The defeat humbles the ego, but elevates the spirit. It dissolves false identities, the performer, the pleaser. Tell me. The perfectionist, and invites the real self to emerge. The real self doesn't need to impress. It doesn't need to win. It simply desires to be whole. And in many cases, it takes the loss of things you thought mattered most to realize what truly does. You don't need to curse the fall, because sometimes the fall is what sets you free. Free from expectations that were never yours. Free from roles you never chose. Free from chasing a version of success that left your soul empty. You fall, and in that falling, tell me, you land in a deeper truth, a space where the voice of your intuition gets louder. Tell me, a place where your priorities shift from how do I look to who am I becoming. Sometimes, tell me, it takes losing the job to realize you were never living your purpose. Sometimes, it takes heartbreak to see that you've been abandoning yourself for years. Sometimes it takes a moment of complete collapse to finally build something real, not out of fear or comparison, but out of clarity and truth. External defeat forces you to ask questions you may have been too busy or too afraid to ask. Questions like, what do I really want? Who am I? When no one is watching, what am I here to give? These questions aren't distractions, they are doorways. The awakening doesn't announce itself. It comes slowly. Like the sun rising after a long night. You start to see what you didn't see before. You recognize the patterns you kept repeating. The people you kept chasing for approval. Tell me, the parts of yourself you kept ignoring. And rather than run from those realizations, you sit with them. You hold them with compassion. And from that place of truth, your comeback begins. It's not about returning to how things used to be. That chapter has closed. The pages have turned. The comeback now is not a resurrection of the old, it's a revelation of the new. And this new you, tell me, awakened by the silence of defeat, no longer seeks to fit in, no longer lives for the applause, no longer measures worth by outcome. Tell me, this new you is anchored, rooted, grounded in something eternal. Because once you awaken, truly awaken, the world can no longer deceive you. It can't trick you into thinking your value is out there. You see clearly. You move intentionally. You live from the inside out. Tell me. And in that state, even if you face defeat again, you no longer collapse. Because you know that the fall is not the end. It's just another sacred beginning. There's a burden far heavier than failure, rejection, or loss. It's the weight of resentment, the slow, corrosive energy of carrying anger, betrayal, and hurt wherever you go. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood forces in the world. It's often mistaken as weakness, as surrendering, as letting someone off the hook. But forgiveness in its truest form is not about the other person at all. It's not about condoning or forgetting. Tell me, it's not about making peace with someone who may never understand what they did. Forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you. You can't tell. When we hold on to pain, especially the kind inflicted by others, we create an energetic prison. We lock ourselves into a cycle where the past controls the present. The words they said, the lies they told, the promises they broke, the trust they shattered. It replays in the mind again and again, like an echo in a hollow room. But every time it plays, tell me, it drains your power. It keeps your energy anchored to a moment that no longer exists. Tell me. And in that loop, you become disconnected from your own peace. The pain was real. The betrayal was real. The injustice was real. This isn't about pretending otherwise. This isn't about spiritual bypassing or blind positivity. This is about recognizing that the one who caused the pain may never apologize. They may never change. They may never understand what they did. And still you deserve to be free. Still you deserve to release the grip of their actions on your inner world. Forgiveness is the act of saying, I will not allow your choices to control my life anymore. When you carry bitterness, it begins to define your identity. You begin to shape your story around the wound. You start telling yourself things like, people can't be trusted. I always get hurt. I'll never love like that again. And slowly, the vibrant, open version of you becomes guarded, skeptical, and closed. Not because of who you are, but because you haven't released who hurt you. That's the cost of unforgiveness. It doesn't just punish them, it punishes you every single day. Forgiveness is not forgetting what happened. It's not erasing the lessons. It's remembering with clarity, but no longer with poison. It's holding the memory, but not letting the memory hold you. It's about choosing peace over pain, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to wake up with that heaviness. You deserve to move through life without being shadowed by a past version of yourself, stuck in survival mode. Tell me, that version of you deserves rest. And forgiveness is the pathway to that rest. There are moments in life when people you trusted will fail you. Sometimes they leave. Sometimes they betray. Sometimes they disappoint you so deeply that it shakes the foundation of what you believed. But the mistake we make is believing that their choices diminish our worth. We tie our identity to how they treated us. Tell me. And forgiveness is the process of untying that knot of saying, I am not how they treated me. I am how I choose to heal. When you forgive, it's not an overnight miracle. Sometimes forgiveness is quiet. It's choosing to breathe when you want to lash out. It's choosing to be kind to yourself on the days you still feel the sting. It's choosing to tell a different story, one not rooted in bitterness but in wisdom. It's sitting with your pain without allowing it to own you. And each time you make that choice, the grip loosens. The noise quiets. Tell me, the peace returns. People often think forgiveness is a one-time act. But the truth is, it's a process. Sometimes you'll think you've forgiven someone, and then something will trigger a wave of anger all over again. Tell me, that's not failure, that's healing. That's your system integrating. That's your soul clearing space. Let it come. Let it pass. Tell me, and forgive again. Not for them. Not because they asked, but because every time you forgive, you choose your freedom. You reclaim your energy. You step further into the light of who you are, untethered by the darkness of what they did. When you forgive, you're not saying what happened was okay. You're saying that what happened will no longer define your joy. Tell me, you're saying that your heart is too sacred to be held hostage by the actions of someone else. You're saying that your comeback, your healing, your evolution will not be delayed by pain that was never yours to carry in the first place. We've been conditioned to believe that success is a point on the map, a place we reach when everything aligns perfectly. We are told to climb, strive, hustle, achieve, always looking toward a distant horizon. But the truth is, the comeback isn't some grand finale waiting in the future. It's not a place you arrive at once everything is fixed, healed, and polished. The comeback is not a destination. It's a declaration. Tell me, a soul-deep decision you make in the quiet spaces of your life. A moment where you stop waiting for things to be perfect and instead choose to rise exactly as you are. Tell me, the world measures comebacks by visible results, the new job, the success story, the transformation montage. But real comebacks are far more sacred than what the eye can see. They don't always begin with celebration. They often begin in pain. Tell me, in doubt. In the middle of the night when you feel like giving up. It begins in the simple, resolute moment when you whisper to yourself, not yet. I'm not done. That's the moment when the comeback is born, not when the crowd applauds, but when your spirit refuses to stay down. A declaration doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't wait for everything to line up neatly. It doesn't ask for the past to be erased or for the wounds to disappear. It looks directly at the mess, the ruins. Tell me, the cracks, and it chooses life anyway. The comeback is a declaration because it is not reactive. Tell me, it's not a response to success or validation. It is proactive. It is a conscious, empowered choice to stand back, not because the world believes in you, but because you've started believing in yourself again. This kind of declaration doesn't come from ego. It doesn't rise from the desire to prove something to others. Tell me, it doesn't scream for attention. It is quiet, rooted, grounded in self-awareness. Tell me, it understands that strength isn't in pretending the pain didn't happen. It's in learning from it, integrating it, allowing it to soften you where you were hard and sharpen you where you were native. It's the maturity that says, yes, I fell. Yes, I was lost. Yes, I hurt, but that's not where my story ends. This declaration is deeply personal. It's not about regaining what was lost. It's about redefining what matters. You may not get back what you had before. Tell me, the relationship may be over. The opportunity may have passed. The version of yourself you once were may no longer exist. But this doesn't mean you're behind. It means something deeper is being built. A self that no longer needs to chase worth but carries it. A soul that no longer seeks permission to shine. A heart that knows it can be shattered and still be whole. Tell me, you don't need to announce your comeback to the world. You just need to live it. You don't need to prove you've changed. Your peace will speak for itself. Tell me, you don't need to return to the version of you who existed before the pain. You're becoming someone far wiser. Tell me, the declaration is internal. It's in how you speak to yourself. You can't tell me. It's in how you walk into rooms, how you protect your energy, how you love with boundaries, how you forgive without forgetting who you are. Tell me, your comeback may not be loud. It may not trend or go viral. It may not look like success to the world, but if it brings you home to yourself, if it restores your integrity, tell me, if it awakens your spirit, then it is powerful beyond measure. It's not about the destination you reach. It's about the decision you made to keep going. That decision is what transforms a breakdown into a breakthrough. That decision is what turns a page and starts a new chapter. No one else can make that declaration for you. Not your family, not your friends, not your mentors, not your followers. It has to come from within. It has to rise from the deepest part of your being, the part that remembers your strength when your mind forgets, the part that refuses to quit even when you've been knocked down 100 times, the part that knows every morning you rise, every breath you take with purpose, every small step forward. That is your comeback. Tell me, you can be rebuilding with no one noticing. You can be healing in silence. You can be becoming in the shadows. The world may not see it yet, but the declaration has already been made. And once you make it, once you decide that this life is still yours to live fully regardless of what has happened to come back, is no longer something you wait for. Tell me, it becomes who you are. It becomes how you live. It becomes your quiet revolution. The journey back to yourself is not a sprint, not a spectacle, and certainly not a straight line. It is deeply personal. It is slow, sacred, and often unseen by the world. You are never truly broken, only distanced from your truth. Every setback, every moment of silence, every heartbreak wasn't there to end you, but to wake you up, to shake the illusion that your value lives outside of you. The world may measure your worth by noise, but your soul remembers its power in the stillness. You don't need permission to heal. You don't need applause to rise. You only need to remember who you are beneath the noise, beyond the pain, behind the masks. You're telling me your comeback is not something that needs to be performed. It's something that needs to be lived. And that begins with the declaration, I am not what I lost. I am what I choose to become. So forgive for your own freedom. Rise not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Tell me. Reconnect with the light inside you that was never extinguished, only covered for a time. And know this, you are not starting from scratch. Tell me, you are starting from wisdom, from experience, from deeper alignment. This isn't about returning to who you were. This is about meeting who we're always meant to be. The comeback is not about changing for the world. It's about coming home to yourself. Because in the end, the most powerful comeback you will ever make is not to the stage, not to the spotlight, not to success, but to your own soul.